We are going to be going through Reddit's worst tattoos. I know, you guys asked for it, I got you. Let's hop into them. Now I know what you're thinking, worst tattoos on Reddit? That's pretty bad. Well, these are the worst tattoos that I could provide some value with. Sometimes when I just look at a tattoo, I'm like, that just looks like shit. Nothing more to it, can't really say anything about, but some of these are genuinely helpful for you getting tattooed or for you doing tattoos. So let's talk about it. This first one is a blast over cover up. You will see that this is not a good tattoo. Clearly, it looks like shit. This is why. First off, the cover up was a bad idea. Like trying to cover it up with a tiger is a silly mistake that someone who doesn't know how to tattoo will make. There's some colors that cover up a tattoo really well. Obviously, black is one of them. If you have a super strong, heavy black image, good to go. But other colors that do a really good job are deep purples, deep greens, really dark reds, dark blues. Like these really heavy dark colors do a really good job. What doesn't do a good cover up is yellow, light orange, or orange in general, brown. These colors are too light and you tend to see the color underneath it, which this is a perfect example of, right? Like this used to be a Pink Panther, you could kind of see the outline of it, and then they tried to put a tiger on top of it, but like just made so many mistakes. Trying to put orange over pink will never work. It's just a bad idea. I do a lot of blast overs. The difference between a blast over and a cover up, you're really trying your best to use what you have so that you can't see the tattoo underneath it. Now, a blast over, it's kind of a lost cause. Like you're not gonna make it perfect, but you're gonna do it anyways. And hopefully the image on top is so strong and so easy to recognize that you kind of can't see the image underneath it. Blast overs aren't for the faint of heart. They're not for your regular client. They're for people who have a lot of tattoos who really just don't care that much about what they get tattooed on them. They just want something cool. A lot of times you'll hear people say like, oh, I'm getting my second layer, my second sleeve. It's because they're filling up their arm with blast overs. And yeah, it's a cool idea. This was a bad attempt at a cover up and a blast over because the image on top isn't strong enough. Honestly, like the Pink Panther probably could have got covered up with something else. Actually, probably anything else. But a hard cover up, yes, executed super poorly. Let's go here. Okay, another colorful rash. These types of tattoos have been popular. And when I say popular, I just mean internet popular. In reality, I've literally never seen a tattoo that looked like this. It's just something that like when you see it on the internet, it tends to get a lot of likes. It tends to be like talked about heavily. I don't think that these tattoos are popular. They're never really gonna be popular, but they seem to be on the internet a lot. And they kind of drive me a little crazy. But I mean, hey, it's a tattoo. Someone's trying to do something. Sometimes I feel like the line between artist and tattooer gets blurred when someone strays too far into I'm an artist, look how cool I am. This kind of stuff ends up happening. And not that it's like life ending, right? This isn't such a bad tattoo that like the person who owns it is gonna like chop off their arm, but it's far from a good tattoo and it's definitely far from a good idea. And I challenge like if you put this on a piece of blank white canvas and you had this like weird like dotty thing, maybe it's a great piece of art, cool. But as a tattoo, it's just birthmarks that are in different colors. Which if that's what you're going for, enjoy it. Next tattoo. Okay, so I love tattoos that are experimental. I know that that might sound crazy, especially after like just talking about the rash tattoo, but this is a tattoo that like I feel like could be cool if executed a little differently. I don't think that this is a cool tattoo. Don't get me wrong, like I don't think there's anything about this that is aesthetically pleasing. I don't like the different dots and all that different. It doesn't look good. It doesn't. It's not ever gonna look good. When it's healed, it's gonna look like a bunch of smudgy dots. It's not a good tattoo. But I kind of like the idea of it, the concept, the like, I'm gonna try and put a bunch of eyes in a cross shape on a hand and we're gonna see how it's done. There's some tattooers who I think if you brought this idea to, they would execute it beautifully in a weird kind of spacey, strange way. And this is just not that. This is an experiment kind of gone wrong. And unfortunately, in tattooing, when you do experimental things, the consequences are lifelong. And when they're on a person's hand, they gotta live with it. I think that this person asked for this. I'm sure they want this. I'm sure they even like it. As a tattooer, as someone who likes kind of wild out there tattoos, this ain't hitting it for me. It's missing the mark in a lot of ways and it's just not there. I don't know what it is, but it's not. Yeah, what do you guys think about this one? This is the one I'm most interested in hearing your thoughts on. I wonder if you're on the same page with me as like the idea could be cool, but it's just this execution that is poor. And not that there's anything poor about the way it was tattooed, it's the dots. The dots throw me for a loop and they just seem like they were kind of just put on there for no reason. But hey, to each their own. Someone definitely wanted it tattooed or they probably wouldn't have gotten it done, and someone wanted to tattoo it or else they wouldn't have tattooed it. So this is one of those shitty tattoos that I absolutely love. I know, it's not a good tattoo, obviously. And in a lot of ways you could be like, that's even rude to have on you. But growing up in LA and seeing a bunch of prison tattoos like this, it's got a spot in my heart. I love it. It's overdone. It's on a guy who probably you don't want to mess with. And I just think it's so funny. I just do. It was definitely either done in prison or in a garage somewhere. I think that if it was executed better, we'd be having a different discussion about this tattoo. Would I be saying like, oh, it's my favorite tattoo? No, absolutely not. But it does do something for my soul. Like seeing it, it reminds me of certain places that I grew up near where you would see this type of tattooing all the time. And I like it, I do. Bruh. Okay, before we jump into this, I want you guys to realize, me as a tattooer, I've made some mistakes in tattooing. I've done some things that if I had to see today, it would make me cry. Now, it is part of the process of becoming a good tattooer. It's also part of the process of becoming a bad tattooer, but they're both, you're gonna end up somewhere. Hopefully you end up on the better side of tattooing, but sometimes as a tattooer, you make some mistakes and you choose to do things that you shouldn't have done, and this is absolutely one of them. If this tattooer ever becomes a great tattooer, they're gonna think back on this tattoo and be like, shit, I wish someone would have told me not to do this. Okay, putting a cross on the center of a person's throat, extremely difficult to do. You can do it, I've seen it done well, great, whatever. Very hard tattoo to do. And then to smash it in clouds, bro, you're signing yourself up for something you probably can't handle. And even me, like a tattooer of over a decade, this is a difficult thing to try and pull off. I would be sweating if I was trying to, and probably I would just be honest with the person and be like, I don't want to do it. It's an amount of stress I'm not interested in. I don't tattoo enough in this particular style that I know I could pull it off beautifully. I think someone could probably do it better than me. And when you're young, you do stupid things. And when you're young in tattooing, you choose stupid tasks. And this is one of those stupid things that like anyone who's worth their salt in tattooing would say like, ugh, either no or it's a for sure yes because they know that they could do an amazing job on it. And yeah, that tattooer should have been like, nope, thanks, peace, send you on your way. I think back on the tattoos that I've done that are walking around and they make me sweat sometimes. Not a lot of them. Actually, there's probably just really one that I'm always thinking about. Maybe I'll tell you that story if you ask nicely. Okay, speaking of mistakes, things that tattooers do that they should have just said no to, this red rose on a neck. Okay, the first tattoo is obviously bad. We could spend all day talking about that one. But let's hop to this like cover up because a lot of you probably want to get some cover ups. And I am always really particular about the things I cover up because the worst thing to do while covering something up is making a bigger mistake. And not that this red rose is really a bigger mistake, it's just another mistake. But a lot of times people want to cover things up and they're taking a risk that they probably shouldn't. As a tattooer, if someone would have came to me and were like, I want a red rose to cover up this mouth thing, I'd be like, okay, cool, I can do it. But you have to pick the right rose And for me, like as a traditional tattooer, I would always pick like a traditional blast over, and I would have probably made it like purple or blue. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but red is not the best color to cover with. A lot of times red it feels dark when I'm like tattooing it. I'm like, oh yeah, red, it's like powerful, strong. But it's not that powerful or strong when it's up against other tattoos underneath it. In this instance, it would have been a very difficult cover up with this red rose. I'm not seeing much of the tattoo showing in the rose. Like it looks like it's doing a pretty good cover up, but I don't think so. When you see it in person, I'm sure you could see that it's a cover up. I'm sure you could see the lines going through it. And like even if you zoom in, you can definitely see that it's not. Red's red. You shouldn't choose red. Now, I would also recommend putting really heavy blacks in it to get rid of that color as much as possible, but that's me. That's how I do my cover-ups. I'm almost gonna do like a black tattoo with color instead of like a full color tattoo. Not the best cover-up, not the best tattoo. All around just not great. Now, let's talk about being a tattooer. A lot of times you have to take these risks to get better. But if you take too big of risks too early on, you end up with stuff like this. This person is trying things that they should leave to real amazing tattooers, but not only just that, but tattooers who specialize in this type of imagery. I don't. You bring me a Cerebrus and you don't have it drawn out, or it's not like an image from the internet, I'm gonna say no. The reason being, it's a hard thing to pull off, and unless I spent the last 5 years trying to like really master Greek mythology and Greek art and like the way these bodies are moving, it's not gonna work that well. If you told me I want a traditional fox and a traditional snake, I got you all day long. But I'm probably not gonna attempt this really, unless, like I said, you bring me the exact thing you want, I'll make it exactly how you want it. But this tattooer should have been spending a lot more time trying to get the silhouettes of the birds perfect than trying to attempt something like this. Like they are in outline and shading when they're going for like the moon, you know? Like they are far from trying to pull anything like this off, and they're just going for it. I'm always curious if people who are getting into tattooing are delusional, because how they look at this idea and be like, I could pull that off, it blows my mind. And I mean, like, you have to have a little bit of delusion in tattooing. You gotta be like, I'm good enough to become a good tattooer. Like, I think I can do it. So you take little baby steps, and usually you have someone guiding you to make those baby steps. Every once in a while, you get someone who's like, I'm just gonna go, like, this stuff, how hard can it be? And then they go pulling off this type of crap, just like destroying people's legs with garbage. And it's sad, it's crazy, it's weird to me because I've gone through this process. I had to take baby steps to get to where I am now. If someone would have asked me to tattoo this, I would have been like, not in a million years. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Were these shitty tattoos or were they not that bad? Come on. If you were like, these are good tattoos, I'm gonna chop it up to you being insane. But like, subscribe, I'll see you in a few days.